Welcome to our second tutorial video for C++. Your host is none other than Rex the Coder. And yeah, let's get right into it. And I do hope you did enjoy the first one. Cool. So let's talk about what we're going to be talking about in this tutorial. So we will be discussing about operators. Then we'll talk about conditional statements. Cool. Right. So operators, right? Operators are divided into different categories. So we have arithmetic operators, then we have comparison operators, right? And then we have an assignment operator, which is gonna be discussing as well. Then there pops up an if statement. This is the conditional statement. It's not part of the operators. It's the conditional statement which was not supposed to pop up there, but it decided to just pop up. But we'll discuss about that at a later stage. So let's head over to the operators and we discuss operators. Cool. So under the operators category, we have different kinds of operators of operations we can do. Those who are familiar with maths might be familiar with some of these operators. So we have addition, right? This is plus. We have subtraction. So this is a minus. And then we have division. This is divided into two different categories, right? So we can either do a float division or an integer division. Float division. If you recall, a float division is not really a float division, but a float data type. It's a numeric type, right? But then it's a number that has decimals, right? It's a float division. An integer division is a number without decimals, right? Cool. So we have a float division. We're just gonna use a slash, and then we have an integer division or float division. This makes use of a method called floor, and we'll be discussing about this now. But then what I want you guys to be aware of in this one is that we're going to be using a CMath header file. We'll talk about that at a bit of a later stage. We'll discuss about that. Then we have multiplication. So multiplication is just you multiplying two numbers, right? So you either using it's just gonna be an asterisk, right? So they call it an asterisk or a star if you want. Most people who are familiar with maths, they will just call it a cross, right? It's a star or an asterisk, but it's mostly called an asterisk, but one can just say it's a star, right? If you just want to remember it, because what matters is you knowing the purpose of this star and asterisk. It's a multiplication. It represents multiplication in C++. And then we have exponentiation. We're gonna be using a power function. And we have modulus, which is just a percentage. So a modulus returns the remainder. After you divide a number by a certain number, it returns what remains. So if you divide a number and the number goes 2 times and it leaves 3, it's going to return 3, not that 2, right? Division just means the quotient, right? The product after you divide a number by another number. Power, just raising a number to a power. Cool. Let's check up JDoodoo. So we're just going to be using this compiler for now, which makes it easy for someone following through or everyone to follow through. I'm not signing in, but if you want, you can do that. I'm just going to use it as it is. I don't want to save anything. Cool. Oh, we chose the wrong language. We want C++. And we make it a full screen, and we're just going to remove all that. Full screen, and then we'll zoom in a bit. There we go. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to first set up our environment for coding. So we have to include some libraries. So it's IOStream, and then we're going to be introducing a new library. Don't worry much about these libraries. We're going to have a session where we discuss about these libraries, what methods or what do they enable us to do. So include c main, right? And then int main, and then upon successful run, let's see if we can just execute and see if our environment is set. Cool, our environment is set, there are no errors, the compiler doesn't complain, right? So we have arithmetic operators, we have addition, we have subtraction, we have division, multiplication, multiplication. Let's not mess up our division. So we have float division. Then we have integer division. Cool. Then we have exponent, power. Just call it power. But it's exponentiation. You're raising a power. You're raising a number to a certain power, right? Then we have modulus. Cool. So I'm gonna show you some of them of how you use them, and then you're gonna have a bit of an exercise on how to use others. But I will do the new ones, which is gonna make sense. Comprende? Yes, comprende, right? Cool. So say you have two numbers. It's number A, which is 30, or let's just call it 50. And then we have number 2, which is B, you call it 60, right? And then you just want to display the sum. So it's sum. So you can just do the operation there. And as discussed initially, you end line, right? So expecting 60 plus 50, which is 110. Let's execute. We forgot something. So that's what I'm saying. We're going to discuss about that at a later stage. So it's using name space std standard, right? And then we execute. There we go. We have our sum. So this is a standard. It allows us to use out like this, but then if we didn't include that, we might have to do std : then we had our output. We didn't want to do that. We'll discuss that at a later stage. That's addition, right? What I want you to do as an exercise, pause the video and do addition, right? And division. It's the same thing, you're just using the signs that we discussed in the slides. But what I want to discuss is the integer division. So you pause and then you do this. Once you're done, you continue, right? For now, let's do the integer division, right? So integer division, we already have the numbers. We're not gonna declare any other numbers, and then we're just gonna call this result, but you can call it anything. Cool. What we want to do is we want to perform integer division, right? So from the slides, it's floor and then the value, right? So it's floor, then the value, right? So the value is that we're going to be applying. So the reason why I don't want to do the floor division, we're going to be doing it there. So the value that you get from the floor division, you're just going to use that. And then this method, what it does, it disregards the decimal part and takes in only the number before the decimal. So say we have 60 divided by 50, right? And then we end line, right? So if we do that, we get 1. So it goes there once and it leaves 1, right? So it doesn't go there once, it goes there a couple of times, and then the remainder is 1, right? That's division. Multiplication, you're gonna do the same thing, right? So I'm gonna leave this for you guys to do. Reason being that I also want you guys to also learn. I don't want to just be talking, and then you watch and you think that you learned, but in reality you find out that you didn't actually learn, right? So I don't want you guys to go through that. Then we're gonna just discuss the power one. So it's just raising a number to a power, right? 2 to the power of 2. That's what we're doing, right? Then we have pow, that's our function. Then we're going to provide the number that we want to raise to a power, then the power to that number, the number that we want to raise this power to, and then end line, and then we have this. We're expecting f4, I believe. There we go. It's 2 to the power of 2, which is 4. So that's what the power is, and that's how we use the function, right? There are other methods that are associated with this math library, and we'll be discussing this at a later stage. So I don't want to just be putting too much information. I'm trying to keep up the pace in terms of trying to get the basics as done as possible. Then we can get to the heavy stuff. So take your time, learn this in a more appropriate in your own pace, and don't rush. Then let's do these modulus. So with the modulus, I don't want to do that as well. So you guys gonna do that. It's the same thing. Instead of using a plus, it's a modulus. It's gonna return a remainder of the remainder, whatever remains after you divide a number, right? So if a number is even, if you divide by 2, if the number is divisible by 2, the remainder is 0. If the number is not divisible by 2, the remainder is not 0. Cool. Let's quickly discuss the remaining operators. Then we get over to the conditional statement. Cool. So I think in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss just those operators, and then we go straight to application a bit, and then we'll talk about the conditional statements, right? So what we have is an assignment operator, and what we're going to do is just an assignment operator. So we've seen this in action. So what this does, it assigns a value to a variable, right? And then we have comparison operators. What comparison operators do is that it's comparing two things, right? You're comparing two things in this case. So we can either compare two numbers or compare two characters, but I'll get to that when we get to ASCII tables, as I've mentioned before when we were talking about characters. I believe it was in this tutorial. If not, we're still going to talk about the ASCII table, because when a character is stored in memory, is assigned a value. Cool. So we have an equal sign, which is just two equal operators or two assignment operators. This is equal. So you say this number is equal to this number, right? And then we have not equal. Not equal is just an exclamation mark and an assignment operator. Oh, I said it right. Exclamation. You know, sometimes you get to be confused as to say a word. Okay, not really confused, but you know, some pronunciation, it's kind of like tough, especially when you've been talking, because I've been quite talking. So it's an exclamation mark. I almost messed up. It's an exclamation mark and an assignment operator, right? And then we have greater than, right? Greater than is just the greater than symbol. Less than is the less than symbol, right? There we go. We can also assign an operator, right? Say we want to have greater than or equals to. We can combine this with the assignment operator and create greater than or equals to, right? That will be more like logical operators. We're gonna get to logical operators as well. So you're gonna get to choose as to how you wanna do the whole thing, right? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Cool. So before we get to that last part, let's just see what happens when you do or use these comparison operators. We're just gonna clear that, and then there we go. Cool. So I just wanna do a result. Cool. And then I have 1 equals to 1. What are we gonna get? Let's execute this. Our operator, so it's end line, right? It's end line. Let's not mess up, let's not mess up. By the way, that's a syntax error which we made, and there we go. We have ourselves an end line, and Cool. So let's just do this. It doesn't allow us to do this, right? So let's cancel this and do this. Cool. And then I have result, which is one. Okay, let me do this. It's int a is equals to 1, int b is equals to 1 as well. Then we have that, right? And then we use a boolean variable, which I'm just gonna, there we go, right? And then we're gonna use an assign an operator, right, equals to b. Let's see if this works. There we go, our compiler doesn't complain, right? Then we just display that result, right? Result, and then it's result. And then let's execute this, right? So we get a 1. So one thing we learned, we are not allowed to perform that there. We cannot perform this there, but we can actually store a boolean variable and perform that. But then what happens is that after comparing two values, right, you either get a true or a false, right? It's either a yes or a no. Is this number greater than this number, or is this number less than this number, right? Those are the operators. What I want you to do, guys, is I want you to play around with the not equals to, greater than, less than, right? And I'm just going to discuss the if statement, and then we're going to be applying these comparison statements in these comparison operators in our conditional statement. Then that will make sense, because we use comparisons when we have statements. This is this, then do this. If this is this, then do this. Let's dive right into it. Cool. So any if statement, right, this is a condition. So this is the syntax. It's you start with an if keyword, then followed by a condition. Well, in this case it's just condition 1, and then you open bracket, and then you have your statements. If that condition is met, do this, and then you close. You have another statement, which is a condition, right? Another condition. If that is true, then do this. Then if all fails, then do this. So you can have as many conditions as you can. This is just a general if else or else if statement, right? Cool. So now let's just do a little bit of a nice program to check if a number is an even number or not. Cool. So int number, right, is equals to 50 or 60. Let's just keep it 60 for now. And then we're gonna have an if statement. If, remember the syntax, right? It's so in my slides I don't include open brackets, no parentheses, but you do need to have parentheses, and then you put a condition, right? If number is if you divide by 2, the remainder must be 0, right? If it's even, and then you're just gonna print out, you're just gonna display this, right? Yes, number is even. Oh, wait. Number is even, right? End line. Cool. Else, if all fails. Okay, let me also introduce else if. Right? Cool. As if this number is equals to 3. Cool. Do this. Cool. And then we have the one that covers everything, then this one is gonna be invalid. So that means that all your conditions were not met, and I'm just gonna mix this and that, right? So if you run this, it's gonna give us number is even because it is divisible by 2. But if you provide 3, then the number is 3. And then if we provide 7, then it should be invalid according to our condition. Cool. So that's how you use a conditional statement. So what I want you guys to do is go practice, because practice, they say practice makes perfect, but that's not really entirely true though. I mean, practice, what practice does brings upon improvement. So the more you practice, the more you improve, the more you get better at something. So you go keep practice and get comfortable as much as you can with these conditions or with these syntax, because when you get to a large project or more complicated examples, you might be lost or feel like you are left behind. Please don't be. We are in a learning environment, so learn as much as you can and do the best that you can. Cool. I shall see you guys in the next tutorial. I do hope that you guys did enjoy, and yep, if you love the video, just leave that like and do subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment. I mean, if you have any question, just leave a comment and we shall cover that. Until then, we shall meet in the next episode of C++.